You know what? We've got some great guests today. Michael Modest will be joining us in hour number 2. But in the first hour, we've got the man who conquered the ultimate streak of them all. 7 2/3 of a year of Bruno Sammartino's Worldwide Wrestling Federation Championship. We've got none other than former WWF champion and former NWA Tag Team Champions, the Russian Bear himself, Ivan Koloff. Ivan, how are you, sir?
Great, Comrade Rick. How are you doing, sir?
Oh,
yes, I'm doing fine.
Well.
Yeah, I'm happy right now because I'm waiting to get a call back from Comrade Putin about this weather over here in America. It is too much lightning, tornadoes, and all this. We don't have this over in Russia.
Now, you know, Ivan, I almost introduced you as Red McNutty.
McNutty, that's a better one. I did wrestle as Red McNulty, but McNutty, that would have been good.
Yeah, Red McNutty instead of McNulty.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, that could have been a nutcase come out. Well, I was a nutcase, but that's how I was trying to keep it to myself.
You know, I wanted to ask you when word came down, and I don't know how it was done back in the early 70s, but when word came down to you that you were going to win the title off of Bruno Sammartino, I guess how were you told, and how did you react to it? And I guess what was your feelings towards it, knowing that this big event was going to occur?
I ended up wrestling Bruno from '69 up to 1970, and that's when I was contracted to go in, more or less, or agreement to come in and wrestle, and that was over with. I already had planned a trip over to Australia with Jim Barnett, and I went over there and came back, and I was just taking my time in Hawaii, working out and getting a little rest, and ended up getting a call and from the office, and ended up that they wanted me to come back and wrestle Bruno again. So I said, yeah, okay, sure. Why not? At that time I had not planned anything for a couple of months, so I said, sure. And came back and find out later that at the time I could understand it. They now evaluate the whole situation. Bruno with 7.5 years of holding the belt, wrestling just about every night on these hard rings. It's up north. They're State Athletic Commission authorized rings, and they're 24 feet rings, and they're pretty hard, because boxers' legs would give out if there was too much spring to the mat type thing. So they made the rings different than the wrestling rings and made them real sturdy. And just wrestling up there, the 8 months or whatever it was, 10 months before that, I ended up realizing that. And whenever the feedback came to me was Bruno had a lot of injuries. He was hurting, and different things he had to take care of. So, but I didn't put two and two together. They ended up suggesting something like that to me, but I didn't really understand it at the beginning. Like that's what they were going to do or figured on doing. So I ended up just going along with it, just fine. And the night of came down to the fact of the match, and when I came off the top, this is it, 1, 2, 3, and it was like shock. It was not only shock to the audience, but to the boys, because I guess I challenged Bruno to the fact that it was him just laying there, not kicking out. Because of his injuries, he wanted time off. But he always denied that, but he did come back to me at one time when I came off the top. I tore all the muscles, lower stomach of Bruno, because he tensed up so much, expecting, I guess, all my weight to come down on him, and he tore the stomachs and had to go to the hospital for that. So who knows? I took it like, at first, as Vince was saying to me, something about staying for a year, another year, something like that. And I said, yeah, sure, okay. And then next thing I knew, I had the belt. Then Pedro was mentioned, and I understood that they would like to put it on a guy like him because an ugly old Russian like me wouldn't draw the people. So they ended up doing a couple of deals that I didn't know about, but just, I guess, protecting their belt protecting their business. I even wrestled Mary Milano in Philadelphia, I think it was, a couple nights before the Gardens, and they did a thing in there, and I wasn't even aware of it. He put me in a domino stretch, how I was reacting to the domino stretch. They rang the bell and raised Mary Milano's hand. And then the referee said, and I said to the referee, what are you doing? And I said, I didn't give up. And he said, okay, ring the bell, match continue. And all they wanted to do was get on film that this was happening so that they'd have an ace in the hole. If I gave them a hard time, that they would end up saying, well, you're not the champion, Mary Milano's the champion. Here's the video that shows him winning. So, but I understood that that's part of the office. You have to do stuff like that. So, but I didn't mind really because I was getting another shot back at Bruno. And what people didn't realize maybe at that time, Bruno's Sammartino was my hero since I was a teenager, just started to go to the wrestling school. And because he won it back in the late 50s and in 63, having the belt. And I seen him first wrestling at the Toronto area. Bruzzi, Italy, Bruno Sammartino, 290 pounds. Man, I thought this guy, I wanted to be just like him. So as the years went by, I ended up winning get the chance. After he won the belt, Bruno, I got a chance to wrestle him in Pittsburgh. He's Red McNulty when I started off, and TV match. Got beat up in about, 7-8 minutes or something like that. Because I fell for the joke in the dressing room to attack him when he was down and says a prayer for me to attack him, and I did. I fell for it. I attacked him, started kicking him real hard, punching him, because I was new to the business, and I wanted to do it good. I was about 260 pounds at the time, and I said, they must know about this. They're telling me to go ahead and do this. But they weren't. It wasn't coming from the office. It's just the boys fooling around with me in the dressing room. So I fell for it, the joke. And but Bruno, I remember him looking up at me like I was crazy. Like I was hitting pretty hard, kicking him hard. And he looked up at me and got to his seat pretty quick and threw me around like a rag doll and put me in, of all things, the bear hug complex. He beat me with the bear hug on television. Ivan Koloff. And at that time I was Red McNulty.
So, Ivan, what was it like, I guess, when you were...
to me later on to come back and be the Russian bear, and you had the bear hug as one of my finishers. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Ivan. What was it like, I guess, in the arena when it actually all went down? I'm sure the fans were just completely stunned. I mean, for younger people who don't remember the generation of the Cold War, you were a hated villain. You were from Russia. And, they played off of all the fears and hatreds towards the Russians back then. And all of a sudden a Russian had the belt. I guess, were you concerned for your safety or anything of that sort?
I was whenever the 1, 2, 3 came. And I said to the referee, raise my hand. Because he was looking around, because he was stunned. The people were just so quiet. I mean, we have, 20,000 people, and they go right silent. Because they couldn't believe that Bruno just lost after 7.5 years. And he was afraid that he lost the belt. And then he went ahead and raised my hand, and I said, where's the belt? But by this time, I'm noticing the people. What's going on? I mean, did my truck fall down or something? Because they're so quiet. And here I turned around and tell the referee, where's the belt? He said, go back. Because he's picked up on it that the people were very upset and maybe going to riot. So that's when I started getting real leery about it. I did as I told him, went back and gave him the belt. They said, man, those people, the buzz came back, the dressing room, the people are just quiet up there. Women are crying and they're just really upset. So I stuck my head out the curtain to see it, and sure enough, people were real quiet, and Bruno was just getting up by this time. And he told me the same thing after. He said, you didn't know if there was something wrong or what, somebody got hurt or something. And, but it wasn't. It was just a shock of him losing the belt. And that was just the beginning of it, because later when Captain Lou Romano and I went to leave, we went down the basement to catch a cab out of the place, and the people followed the cab in to come and get us, and knowing that they always put the main event on early, and the main event tries to get out of there before the crowd breaks, and that's what we had done. But the crowd beat us, and we were trying to get out. so many people around, and they're trying to upset the cab. The people grabbed the whole, a dozen people, and they're trying to upset it. And I remember Captain yelled at the driver, "If you don't want your cab wrecked, you better step on and get out of here, because these people are going to wreck it." And he did. He took off. And Captain told me a couple of stories, too, that happened after he was himself that later that day. And time after that people were so upset about it that they even ended up not hitting him, but he had a friend of his. I seen an interview about Captain saying that ended up punching his friend because he was, going along or sticking up for the captain, and ended up getting hit from it. So, yeah, that was really a leery situation, a scary situation. I must say, I was concerned, to say the least, because I do now I have the belt. I got to go to different arenas. That was one of the arenas, Philadelphia. Wrestled for the month, I guess, or 3 weeks or something before that Pedro Morales cheated me out of it. I had him in a full Nelson, and he kicked the top rope with both his feet, with knocked me off balance. I dropped it down to a waist lock, and I went to put him in like a suplex move. I was on the offense, he was on the defense, and I had his shoulders down. I figured you always count the guy that's on, that's shoulders are down, and you count the guy that's, on the defense type thing. And, but they didn't. They counted mine down, and that's what they said. So I guess I'm not running the show, I guess. They did what they wanted to do, so that was all right.
Yep. Let's turn it over to real quick. We'll turn it over to Zane Paisley. He's got some questions for you as well, Ivan.
Well, I'd like to go back. Did you say that before you even had the championship, they had shot a finish where if you didn't play along with what they wanted to do, that they were going to take the belt off you before you even got it?
You directing that at myself?
Yes.
Hello?
You said that they
that's what they could have done. Yeah, we're breaking up here a little bit, but yeah, they could have done that because they already had video me losing to Mario Milano, so it's more like an ace in the hole that they did, to control the situation. Back in those days, there was a lot of guys that, would end up saying, well, at Luthez and a lot of these tough guys, you couldn't beat them. If they didn't want to drop the belt, they wouldn't drop it. Because I found out the hard way later on in my career. The wrestling guys like Vern Gagne and the old timers, man, they want you to lay it in. Locked up with Vern Gagne, and the first thing he did was busted my eardrum with a slap to the ear. And I said, oh man, I don't know if I want to be in this business or not. But yeah, they could do stuff like that because they're smart enough to have an ace in the hole, but I don't knock them for that. I still got the belt from the legend Bruno Sammartino, my hero, and man, that was really helped my career. And man, what have I got to complain about? I got some good paydays out of it, and Vince always treated me real good. Even when I went back after that, always treated me real good. So you can't.
Now, how did you come up with the Soviet gimmick? Did you come up with that, or was that given to you?
Well, to make myself real important here, I could say that, but no, that's not the way it happened at all. It ended up being at the right place at the right time, I guess, and maybe having what the credentials that they're looking for in a guy. And I had worked my weight, my body weight. I was real conscious of it. Starting off when I was 19 years old, pretty good shape with like 183 pounds, and 19 years old, and I ended up, by the time I went to Japan in 1967, after wrestling around Toronto and was Red McNulty, I got a shot to go from Vancouver, British Columbia. I went out there and Washington State and Oregon State, wrestled 2 years out there. And a couple of guys like Don Leo Jonathan, Dutch Savage, the McClartys, ended up putting in the word for me over in Japan. And they contacted me and sent me for a 5-week tour over Japan, 1967. And I met the promoter's brother from Montreal, Jacques Rougeau. And he was over there, and he was wrestling under his uncle's name, Eddie Rouget, I think it was. And he ended up taking it like we became friends over there. And I wasn't sure who he was, promoting brother and all that. So I didn't look at it as that way at all. He's just a nice man, and we got along good. And one day he came up to me and he said, "Hey, Red, would you come to Montreal, shave your hair off, leave your beard, come to Montreal, because you're about close to 300 pounds." And he says, "I think you make a good Russian. You look a bit like that Lenin guy that used to be patrol over Russia." And I thought first he was kidding. But then I said, "You serious?" I said, "Yeah, the New York Executive, so I could sense it as maybe a possible chance to, better myself." So just out of his words, he called his brother Johnny Rougeau up and ended up giving me a starting date about 3 months later. And I was supposed to come back to Vancouver and wrestle. I ended up working for Stu Hart for a couple of weeks on the way out to Montreal. But when I got there, they ended up coming in the office and had my head shaved. There's a story in that in itself, because my brothers and I got together around the Toronto area and had a few beers and everything. And then next morning I woke up and didn't realize it, but they had shaved my head, because I had mentioned to them I had to shave my head. And there was about a roll of toilet paper all over my head from the nicks and all that. But this is well we did it ahead of time, because I had time to heal up by the time I got to Montreal. And they called me in the office and they ended up saying, "Yeah, we figured that a Russian would do good here, because you look like Lenin. We used to have a guy by the name of Dan Koloff that wrestled here, an old timer. And we thought we'd give you the name Ivan Koloff." I said, "All right." That's great. And right away they started featuring me. And I remember I wrestled against Tony Angelo. Turned out to be my manager right after I wrestled him. He wanted to scout me up to see if I was any good. And then the next match, I believe, was against Mad Dog Maurice Vachon. And he was a bad guy and I was a bad guy type of thing. And man, Paul Sauvé Arena was filled up, and I'm sure the promotion was happy, because who's this Russian guy who's going to beat up this Frenchman, And of course the Frenchman was really admired because he was a tough guy, Maurice Vachon. And he was one of my heroes too. But that's the way it got started, just from them seeing the talent that they could culture into something better. And I agreed and went along with it, tried as hard as I could, and they liked it, I guess. And I stayed there 2.5 years, got the belt, lost it, got it again, and then got the little battle, and it's a Tony Ultimate came up as a Sicilians to wrestle it. Yeah, so that's basically the way it happened. Then I was away. From there, I already hit on the fact that I went to, New York and that. And man, what a trip it was. Looking back on it now, being, the right place at the right time. The old saying goes, to get a chance like that, against, turned out to be my hero, Bruno, and man, at the greatest organization, in the world. At that time, it was looked at, the WWF was the Big Apple. It was looked at, admired as, the ultimate in wrestling at that time. And well, to this day, WWE now is even bigger.
Yep.
They even got it expanded even bigger now with the pay-per-views and everything. It's definitely a giant now.